Hello everybody and welcome back to another video on my channel PokePidge. Playthrough challenges are something I've never really attempted on this channel before. However, these sorts of things are becoming more prominent in the gaming community, for example Pokemon games having Nuzlocks or randomizers, so I thought I'd try and challenge myself to something along those lines. Now I'm not going to do a Nuzlocke and I do not have the capacity for a randomizer, so I thought to myself, well, what sort of challenges can I do? I thought I could try and complete Sword and Shield with the weakest Pokemon possible, you know, so like Blipbug, etc, those sorts of Pokemon, but then I realised, no, that's actually probably doable. Recently, Pokemon games have been accused of being a bit too handholdy, so I suppose if you're using the weakest possible Pokemon in a run-through, you'll probably still be able to do it eventually. So how about beating Pokemon Sword with just a Caterpie? First, I need to say it's physically impossible to beat Pokemon Sword or Shield with just one Pokemon, because there are mandatory double battles, and you'll see how I handle that later on in the video. Secondly, the rules. Usually with these sorts of challenges, people say a no items rule. But fuck that, I'm using just a Caterpie and it's my run through, I'll do what I want. I'm definitely using items, including healing items. Secondly, when I say beat Sword using just Caterpie, I mean one Caterpie, not a team of them. So I can only use one. And thirdly, this isn't a Nuzlocke. If Caterpie faints, I can just revive it and go and use that same Pokemon again and try and do the same battle again. Right then, so I have my challenge, I have my rules. I guess there's nothing else to say really, apart from, without further ado, let's get into the challenge. Firstly, I'll quickly summarise my journey until I catch my first Caterpie. I start the game. I pick Scorbunny because I want my rival to have Grookey so that my Bug Bite from Caterpie will be good against it, and also Leon having Inteleon will be good because then I can use Electro Web against that. I begin the mandatory battle and of course I win. I progress through the Slumbering Weald story. My mum gives me items including 5 Pokeballs. And now I can finally go catch Solo. It appears as a random encounter on Route 1, so I go straight there to find it. I finally find a Caterpie and catch it. I nickname it Solo because it's going to be all on its own. I spend the next hour or so training it up, including countless trips home to heal, before finally Solo gets to level 9 and learns Bug Bite. Next I meet Sonia and get my Pokedex, before I can finally get to a Pokemon Center and deposit Scorbunny, as well as stock up on potions. I battle my way through Route 2 with my first trainer battles before meeting Professor Magnolia. I have my second battle with Hop. Wooloo took 2 Bug Bites. Rookidee was more of a challenge, but a potion came in handy and I took it down. Then Grookey was easily beaten with 2 Bug Bites. To summarise the next bit quickly, I get the Dynamax Band, I get the train to the wild area, I meet Sonia who gives me the Pokemon box, and then I go into the wild area. Then I realise something. I haven't actually checked Solo's nature. I could be sitting here with a bad-natured Caterpie that reduces its attack or special attack, and that wouldn't be good. Luckily Solo has a quiet nature, so its speed will grow slower, but its special attack will actually grow quicker, which is perfect. Caterpie's base attack is 30, its base special attack is 20, so having that little bit of boost to the special attack is pretty good. I used the wild area to grind, including getting 10 Dynamax candies for Solo and increasing it to level 18 in the process, including a fun Caterpie vs Caterpie battle. I head onto Motorstoke, get myself a new look, meet Bede, register my number 211, my birthday, 21st of Jan, then easily dispatch of Team Yell at the Budgie drop in. I meet Marnie, join in the opening ceremony of the gym challenge and then go to head to Route 3. But I am interrupted with my 3rd rival battle before I've even got my first gym badge. I one-shot Hop's Wooloo with Bug Bite. Rookidee was more of a challenge as expected, but I eventually took it down before one-shotting Grookey with Bug Bite. And now onto Route 3. This wasn't a challenge, however Galamine 1 was a bit more with all the rock and fighting type trainers, but the potions came in handy for this location. At the end of the mine I battled Bede for the first time and one-shot all of his psychic type Pokemon with a super effective Bug Bite. I battle through Route 4, then arrive at Turfield for our first gym battle. This is the one gym out of all of the 8 gyms that I had 100% confidence in. I mean, I had a type advantage with my bug type over their grass types, and also it was the first gym, it's never really too challenging. So I was really confident I was going to win this one first time. The gym challenge was pretty easy, so after all that I heal up and take on Milo. Now I wish this battle was more dramatic for you, but the reality is I OHKO'd his Gossifleur with a Bug Bite, and then I used 2 Max Flutterbys on his Eldegoss and beat him comfortably. I then continued the journey and battled through Route 5, including beating Team Yell and getting the Rotom bike. We then have another hot battle. I used an X attack first, then one-shot his Wooloo with Bug Bite, take out Corvisquire with 2 tackles, then one-shot his Thwackey with a Bug Bite. I then finally arrive at Hulbury, which means I can get the TM for Electro Web, And now this means that Caterpie has a full roster of moves with Tackle, Bug Bite, Electro Web and String Shot, which I don't think I actually ever used. With Electro Web now learned, it's time to take on Nessa. The gym challenge itself was, again, pretty simple, so we'll go straight to the gym battle. First was Goldeen, which took 2 Electro Webs to take down, but it did get off a Water Pulse in the meantime. Next up was Aracuda, which used a priority move Aqua Jet, so I took more damage before taking it down with 1 Electro Web. Finally, Nessa sends out Dreadnought, which did worry me, but I found out it has no rock type moves, so let's crack on. We both Dynamaxed at the start of the turn, and I used Max Lightning, which does just about half damage. This sets up the electric terrain, so my next move will have plus 50% damage anyway. She uses Max Strike, and I survive it. I can then outspeed and use a second Max Lightning and win the Water Badge. Now next up is going to be Kabu's gym battle, and this is, apart from the champion battle with Leon, this is the one battle I've been dreading. It's quite early on, so I'll be a lower level than I'd like to be, and he has got 3 very strong fire types. Not good. So in that case, I grind the raid dens for candy until Solo is level 50. I then head to Galamine number 2, beat Bede by OHKOing everything he's got yet again, beat Team Yell, then head to Motorstoke, where I take on Marnie in the Budgie drop-in. I forget to heal before this battle, but it isn't a problem as I beat her with relative ease due to being level 50. But now it's time for Kabu's Gym Challenge. I have to say now that you have to physically catch at least 2 Pokemon in order to complete this challenge, and they then follow you into the gym battle. So what I'm doing is I'm not using them in the gym battle. I'm sending out Solo first, and then if Solo faints, that's the end of the battle. Just so we're clear. I eventually cleared the gym challenge and add Vulpix and Sizzlipede to the party. Then move on to Kabu's battle. First up, I give Solo the magnet item to boost its Electro Web, because that's pretty much going to be the only move I use. And then the battle begins. First up is Ninetales. My plan here is to increase my special attack and special defense using battle items and hopefully tank a couple of hits from Ninetales in the process. It opens with Will-O-Wisp. So far so good. I keep raising my specials, then I make the stupidest mistake I have ever made in Pokemon. I have an energy root handy to restore 120 HP, but I use the revival herb instead. This obviously fails. Ninetales embers, then I take burn damage, then fire spin damage, and it finishes me off. How can I be so stupid? So I go back and I do it all again. However, on my second attempt, I give Solo a Rawst Berry. I know this isn't really going to make much difference, but at least it will survive 1 Will-O-Wisp to give me that extra little bit of boost. The battle starts and I use the same tactic again, using 2 X special defenses and 3 X special attacks. Then I actually use the energy root to heal. Well done me. I then use Electro Web, and it freaking misses after all that. So I then heal again on my next turn, try again with another Electro Web, and it OHKOs Ninetales. I decide not to heal and risk an Electro Web on Arcanine, hoping it OHKOs, and it does. Last up is Centiskorch with the capability to Gigantamax. Now I didn't know what to do here. I didn't know whether to try and heal my burn and tank whatever Gigantamax move it was going to use, or just cross my fingers and hope that my Max Lightning OHKOs it and I can just end the battle there. So I chose the latter option, and it did OHKO. I beat Kabu and I win the Fire Badge. Now next up we have a lot of exploring and story to get through, so to summarise, I have to go to the wild area, go to the other end of the wild area, then I get to Hammerlock, talk to some people, and then I can crack on. I beat Team Yell on Route 6 and then battle my way through it until I meet a Clefairy that uses Metronome. And it ended up using Rock Wrecker, which fainted me. What the fuck? I increased to level 57, tried the route again, and eventually get to Stow-on-Side. By the way, this statue before Stow-on-Side is 3 Diglett, not Dugtrio. Totally called it on my Sword Shield trailer analysis video. You have the 3 Diglett down there, and yes, I'm saying 3 Diglett, not Dugtrio. See? Before the gym, we have another hot battle. First up is Cramorant, which we OHKO with Electro Web. I then OHKO Thwackey with a Bug Bite. Toxel only took 2 tackles. Silicobra was more of a challenge with 3 tackles, but I did eventually win. And now it was time to challenge the gym. The next 3 gyms were going to be a bit of a challenge. I mean, Bug is not very effective against fighting, Bug is not very effective against Fairy, and Bug is weak to rock, so buckle up. Firstly, the gym challenge here was pretty easy, as it usually is, so I decided to use all my medium EXP candy and raise Solo to level 66, ready for the battle. Speaking of said battle, B opens up with Hitmontop. So I choose Electro Web, which doesn't do over half. She uses counter, so I get away with it. I Electro Web again, and she uses a not very effective revenge. So this means I can then beat it on the next turn. Next up is Pangoro. It's part dark, so I actually use Bug Bite. I outspeed and do over half, but it does use Night Slash, which crits and does a lot of damage. I finish it on the next turn, and she chooses Surfetched. Now I decide to Dynamax now and use Max Lightning, as it means the electric terrain will be set up for her Gigantamax Machamp. I actually Oko Surfetched, which I did not expect. She then chooses said Machamp, and of course Gigantamaxes. I outspeed and use Max Lightning, but it doesn't even do over half. She uses Max Strike back and does a lot of damage. I could survive another Max Strike, so risk using Max Lightning once more before healing, but I crit and faint it. It surprised me as well, I'll take it. I beat B and win the fighting badge. Now after this I have another battle with Bede, and for the third battle in a row against him, I Oko all of his Pokemon with Bug Bite. I then work my way through Glimwood Tangle and eventually arrive at Balan Lair. Now my first stop here is to battle Breeder Elena, because she then gives you the Eviolite. Now the Eviolite is an item that boosts your defense by 50% if it is held by a Pokemon that can still evolve. Caterpie can still evolve, so I instantly give it the Eviolite and boost its defenses by 50%. Now it was time for the 5th gym. Again, as always, the gym challenge was pretty easy, especially as you get asked questions that can raise your stats. This is something that goes across into the gym battle. There'll be 3 occasions in the gym battle when you get asked a question, and if you get it right, you'll raise your speed, then defenses, then attack stats by 2 stages in that order. So I wasn't as scared about this gym battle as I was about others. Opal led with Wheezing, and my Electro Web does just over half. After a sludge I get asked a question, and after getting it right, my speed rises by 2 stages. After another couple of Electro Webs, I beat it but have taken 2 sludge attacks. Next up she chooses Togekiss. I'm fine with this as my Electro Web would be super effective, but Togekiss tanked it. She then used her Air Slash, but luckily for me it misses. I get the next question right and my defense and special defense raises by 2 stages. Togekiss only just survives my next Electro Web, but I tank an Air Slash due to the Eviolite and the stat boost. I then finish it off and she sends out Mawile. I use Electro Web again, which does more than half of her HP, and then she uses Iron Defense, which doesn't really bother me because I'm using a special move. I then Dynamax to set up the electric terrain for her Gigantamax Alchemy, and I finish it off. She sends out Alchemy and then asks her third and final question, which I get right, and my attack and special attack get raised by 2 stages. My Dynamax Lightning, now with the boosted special attack stat and of course the electric terrain up, does over half of its HP, so I tank her next move and finish it off with my second Max Lightning. I beat Opal and win the Fairy Badge. Now there is more story here with Opal and Bede, but essentially she takes me back to Hammerlock again, and then I go off to Route 7. And guess who's waiting for me on Route 7? It's only Hop, isn't it? I take down his Trevenant with 2 Bug Bites, and I use 3 Electro Webs on Heatmore, but take a fair bit of damage. I heal for Snorlax, which uses 3 stockpiles. This was quite annoying, but eventually I took it down with Bug Bite. Boltund was dispatched off fairly easily. Then I 2-shotted his Rillaboom with Bug Bite, and that was the end of the battle. I battle through Route 7, battle through Route 8, and arrive at Circhester. Now I'm worried for this gym because I chose Pokémon Sword, so it's a rock gym, not an ice gym. I use my remaining rare candies and increase solo to level 81 and then go to take on the gym. The gym challenge is, yep, you guessed it, pretty easy. Now it was time for the gym battle with Gordy. He first sends out Barbaracle, which I am fine with. I use a super effective Electro Web, which does a lot of damage. He uses Shell Smash. I outspeed on the next turn and knock him out anyway. Next up is Shuckle. I use Bug Bite, which does about a third. He uses Rock Tomb, which is super effective, but Shuckle's attack base stat is so low that it barely does anything. After a couple more turns of this, I finish it off. Next up is Stonejourner. I Dynamax now to set up the electric terrain for the Gigantamax Colossal, which is coming after, and I Oko Stonejourner due to its very low special defense stat. He then sends out Colossal and of course Gigantamaxes. I used Max Lightning, which only does around a third. He Max Flares, which of course hurts a fair bit. I'd also like to point out that I have used no battle items in this particular battle, absolutely nothing. This is just pure Caterpie, this is solo on its own. I use another Max Lightning to get him into the red, and his G-Max Volcalith does a lot and sets up sharp stones to hurt me every move. My Dynamax moves end here and solo goes back to its small size, and I don't have the HP to tank another move. I have to hope and pray that the next thing I do knocks it out. I use Electro Web and it does indeed finish off Colossal. I beat Gordy and win the Rock Badge. This has made me think that Solo may be one of the best Pokemon I have ever used. After some more story, I have yet another hot battle. Double was annoying as he kept healing, but I eventually beat it with Bug Bite. Corviknight used Scary Face so lowered speed, but this didn't matter because my first Electro Web lowered his speed anyway, and I beat it after 2 turns with 2 Electro Webs. Snorlax surprisingly only took 2 Bug Bites. I healed up and used another 2 Bug Bites on his Pincurchin, and then I OHKO'd his Rillaboom with, you guessed it, Bug Bite. I then go on to battle through Route 9 including Team Yell, which gets me access to the Surfing Rotom bike upgrade. I get to Spikemuth, which is shut, but Marnie shows me the way in, but only if I battle her. I OHKO her Liepard, but it uses Torment, so I can't spam Bug Bite on her Dark types. Next she uses Toxicroak, which is fine, but it swaggered me, raising my attack, but of course I'm confused. So I use a full heal, and I take it out with 2 Electro Webs. I then OHKO her Scrafty with Bug Bite, then I have to tackle on her Morpeko because of the Torment. I then heal, and so did Marnie, but it's irrelevant as I OHKO her with Bug Bite. Next up is the Gym Challenge for Peers, but I have to take 2 Pokemon in order to compete in the Gym Challenge. This is what I meant in my intro when I said it's impossible to beat the game with just 1 Pokemon. This is one of those situations. So I use Scorbunny. I add it to my party and proceed through the challenge, which is fairly easy to beat. And then it was time to battle Piers. He opens with Scrafty, which lowers my attack with Intimidate. I use Bug Bite to see where I'm at with my attack, and it only does about half. I then decide to use an X attack on my next turn, and he uses Sand Attack, which isn't ideal, but I'll take it. I then finish Scrafty with a second Bug Bite. He then sends out Malamar, which I OHKO with a 4 times effective Bug Bite. Next up was Obstagoon. I decided to go for Electro Web as I thought he might use Obstruct, but he didn't. So on the second move I go for a Bug Bite, but he does use Obstruct so my defense gets lowered. I then think I could probably finish it with another Bug Bite, but it puts it into the red, and then he uses Counter. He knocks out Solo and I lose. I try again. I do exactly the same for the Scrafty and Malamar as I did in the first battle, using an X attack and then using Bug Bite to beat them both. And then out comes Obstagoon. My tactic here is just to use Electro Web because it's a special move and it won't be affected by Counter, it won't be affected by Obstruct, it just means that it's sort of like a Protect. He actually does use both of those moves in the first 2 rounds of moves, so my tactics seem to be working. I take damage from a Throat Chop but decide to finish it with Bug Bite. His last Pokemon is Skuntank. I then get a bit of luck on my side and use Bug Bite, which crits and OHKOs it. I beat Piers and win the Dark Badge. Next up is more story on Route 9 and then on to Hammerlock. Before the last gym I decide to grind in max raid battles and get Solo up to level 100. This is another gym challenge where I need 2 Pokemon, and Scorbunny now is a little bit of a higher level, so it might be able to take a move which seems pointless, so I go off and I catch a really weak Magikarp. The gym challenge itself was fine except for one battle where I had to take on Ninetales and Turtonator with just Solo, who had Electro Web disabled. I scraped through just about and beat the challenge, ready for the 8th and final gym battle. In the first turn I get Solo to use Bug Bite on Gigalith and Magikarp to use Splash. Then Solo OHKOs Gigalith with a Bug Bite. Flygon's Breaking Swipe takes out Magikarp, so Solo is on its own against the 3 remaining Pokemon 2-on-1. I decide to tackle Flygon, which does over half damage, and it uses another Breaking Swipe just for a little bit of chip damage, but Sandaconda glares me and paralyzes me. I use Paralyze Heal straight off the bat and hope to tank some hits, then Sandaconda uses Fire Fang for heavy damage. I decide Sandaconda is the biggest threat, so use Tackle on it, which does over half damage. Then another Breaking Swipe and glare later, I'm back to square one. I use Max Potion to heal up before another Breaking Swipe and Fire Fang, then I don't know if I should take out Sandaconda or heal my paralysis. The Sandstorm stops and I use another full heal to get rid of the paralysis, but Sandaconda uses Protect! Flygon uses another underwhelming Breaking Swipe, and I then take the initiative and the chance on the next move to tackle Sandaconda and get rid of it, but its Sand Spit generates another Sandstorm. I end the turn at half health and 2 Pokemon against 1 with a Gigantamax Duraludon on the way, which is not ideal. I decide to heal now and hope that I can take a Gigantamax move from Duraludon, which is very risky because it goes for a max Rockfall. I end the turn above half health, so I use another Hyper Potion and hope that I can repeat this method until Duraludon finishes its Gigantamax turns and becomes regular size again. It uses G-Max Depletion on its 3rd and final G-Max turn, which doesn't do much at all. I decide to take the opportunity and take out Flygon with a Tackle, Duraludon goes for Stone Edge and misses. The next turn is Solo's time to Dynamax with Max Flutterby, which OHKOs Duraludon. My Caterpie has just got 8 gym badges on its own. And I also want to point out, in that last battle, I didn't use any battle items. Solo did it by itself. It was 2-on-1 for pretty much all of the battle and took out 4 Pokemon. Next up was the battle through Route 10 and get to Wyndon for the Galan Champion Tournament. After getting to Wyndon though, I do quickly have a little detour. Now that I can access Wyndon's clothes shops, I take a detour to the Isle of Armor to beat Clara and get the style card. And then I head back to Wyndon and complete the Poképidge style. It was time for the start of the tournament now, and first up was Marnie. Just as before, her Liepard used Torment again, but I OHKO'd it with Bug Bite. Scrafty took an Electro Web and then a Bug Bite. Toxicroak was a bit more of a pain as it poisoned me with Toxic. Then after a tackle and an Electro Web, Marnie used Full Restore. I tackled twice and Electro Web to take it down, and then next she brought out Morpeko. So I took the opportunity to use a Full Restore then of my own. I then OHKO'd Morpeko with Bug Bite, and finally she was using a Gigantamax Grimmsnarl. I Dynamaxed as well, and Solo totally tanked a Max Starfall, so I took it out with 2 Max Flutterbys and 1. Next up was Hop in the final. I almost OHKO double with Bug Bite. On the next turn, Hop uses Full Restore, but I just keep using Bug Bite until it's down. Corviknight was next and took 2 Electro Webs to take down with ease. Pinturchin took 2 Bug Bites despite using Curse in the middle. Snorlax only took 2 Bug Bites to take down before I OHKO'd Rillaboom with Max Flutterby. I beat both Marnie and Hop in under 15 minutes combined. We then get more story. We have to go find Leon because he hasn't showed up. We have to beat this one particular Marco Cosmos employee 3 times running around Wyndon. Then we have to infiltrate Rose Tower, beat some more Marco Cosmos employees, and then go up to the top of the tower and beat Oleana. Oleana was fairly straightforward. She first used Frostlass, which outsped Solo, but my first Electro Web reduced speed, so I was then faster. The second Electro Web wasn't enough, so I finished it off with Bug Bite. She then sent out Salazzle, which poisoned me with Poison Gas immediately. Electro Web did over half, so I finished it on the next turn. She then sent out Serena, which was OHKO'd with Bug Bite. Next up was Milotic, but I decided to heal the poison first with a Full Restore, which was fine as she set up Aqua Ring. I then used a super effective Electro Web, which lowered the speed, but its competitive ability raised special attack. I took a lot of damage from Surf, so I thought I'd use Max Lightning now to set up electric terrain for her Gigantamax Garbodor. It knocked out Milotic, of course, which was super helpful. Then I outsped her last Pokemon Garbodor, which used Max Rockfall that Solo tanked before I finished it with another Max Lightning. There was more story with Leon and Rose, and then I had to go back to the Budgie drop in, and then eventually we got back on with the tournament. The opening ceremony got interrupted by Bede, who wanted to battle me. I OHKO'd his first Pokemon Mawile with a critical hit Electro Web. I knocked out his second Pokemon Gardevoir with 2 Bug Bites. I knocked out his third Pokemon Rapidash with 2 Bug Bites. Then his last Pokemon was a Gigantamax Hatterene. We both chipped away at each other before he used a Full Restore. We both shrunk down to normal size at the same time, and I took my chance to use a Max Potion. Then even though he used a couple of Mystical Fires, I still managed to take it down with a couple of Bug Bites. In the quarterfinals I played Nessa. First up, she chose Golisopod, which activated its emergency exit ability after my Electro Web did over half of its HP. Pelipper came out in its place, so I used a 4 times effective Electro Web and took it out in 1 hit. Seaking was after that, which took 2 Electro Webs. Next was Golisopod, which was healed with a Full Restore, but my Electro Web actually crit and OHKO'd it. Barrascuda came out next and managed to damage us with a Liquidation before an Electro Web OHKO'd it. Next we had Dreadnought. Now I was still scared of any potential rock type moves it may have. I don't know if it does, but I was scared. I Dynamaxed and used Max Lightning, which took it straight to the red. It did have a rock type move in Max Rockfall, which did a good chunk of damage, but I was able to finish it off on the next turn and beat Nessa. B was next in the semi-finals. She led with Horlucha, so had a potential flying type move hidden away to hurt me. Instead it used Flying Press, which did a good amount of damage, but I got a crit Electro Web off and OHKO'd it. Phalanx was next, which hurt me a bit with Rock Tomb, but I was able to beat it with 2 Electro Webs. Grapploct was next. My first Electro Web did about a third. Mega Punch hurt me a fair bit. I used a second Electro Web, but Grappalog's second Mega Punch actually missed. I took the opportunity to heal, but so did she. We repeated the previous turns, Electro Web versus Mega Punch, until I'd taken it down. Surfetch was next, and another Electro Web did just over a third. I decided to heal now for maximum possible HP for the Gigantamax Machamp battle. I decided to finish it off with Max Lightning and set up Electric Terrain ready for that Gigantamax Machamp. She sends out Machamp, obviously Gigantamax's, and my Max Lightning only does a third of damage on that Machamp. It then used Max Flare, which did a fair amount of damage, but it was now sunny, so the fire type moves were going to be increased in power and be completely deadly on the next turn. I used another Max Lightning and got it to the red, and its Max Flare did massive damage. I shrank down to normal size and knew that I couldn't take another move from that Machamp, but I also knew that I outsped, so I had one chance to knock it out. I decided to risk it and go for an Electro Web, which only just beat it. I beat B and move on to the final. The final was against Raihan. He led with Torkoal, which had the Drought ability, so its fire moves were going to hit like a truck. I opened with Electro Web, which did about a third damage, but he opened with Yawn. I then decided to use another Electro Web, which got him to the red, and then Lava Plume did huge damage. And of course, I then fell asleep. I used a full restore, and so did he. I decided to see if Tackle would be better, and it did less than Electro Web. He yawned again. I used Electro Web and got hit with another Lava Plume. However, the sun faded at the end of that turn, as well as me falling asleep. I used another full restore and got hit by another Lava Plume before Electro Web finished it off. Next up was Turtonator, another fire type, which I knew would have Shell Trap. He set up a sunny day, so I was worried for what was coming next. I stuck with Electro Web, and rightly so, as he tried to use Shell Trap. This repeated until I finished it with a tackle right near the end when it was in the red. Next was Goodra, so I could finally use Bug Bite, which did over half of its HP, and it only used Rain Dance, so I decided to use some X attacks. It then used a boosted Surf, which did a fair amount of damage, so I decided to use the opportunity and heal. I sort of tanked another Surf, so decided to use another X attack and then heal on the turn after that. The rain stopped, so I knew he was going to use Rain Dance on the next turn, so I healed once more to be at full HP. Then I outsped and finished with a Bug Bite. He chose Flygon next. It set up a Sandstorm, but my boosted attack meant I OHKO'd it with a Bug Bite. Finally was Duraludon. He obviously Gigantamaxed, then I forgot to Dynamax. I thought that all my hard work setting up my stats here was just going to go to waste, but my Bug Bite somehow crit and did over half damage. His Max Rockfall did about a third of my HP. I then Dynamaxed on my next turn and fainted Duraludon with a Max Flutterby. The only thing left for me was the champion battle, so I get to the stadium to battle Leon only for the chairman to interrupt it. Now I'll summarise the story for you here. Chairman Rose wants to bring back the Darkest Day for some reason. We have to go to the Slumbering Wheel with Hop to get the Rusted Sword and the Rusted Shield. We then go back to Hammerlock to confront Chairman Rose, and he challenges me to a battle. He first chooses a Scavalier. Seeing as all his Pokemon are Steel types, I decide to use an X special attack to boost my Electro Web. He uses Mega Horn, which does a lot of damage, so I then decide to use an X defense to counteract that. I then use a Max Potion, and he uses a Swords Dance, so I knew I had to take it out before it got too deadly. Electro Web did over half damage, and its Mega Horn missed, so I finished it on my next turn with another Electro Web. Klinklang was next, and its Wild Charge barely did anything. It was then easily dispatched with 2 Electro Webs. I then used Electro Web on Berserker and took it into the red, and its Iron Head didn't really do much damage to me. Another Electro Web dealt with that, and next up was Ferrothorn, so I took my chance to use Bug Bite, as Electro Web wouldn't be very effective. The Iron Barb's ability did hurt solo, but it wasn't too bad. Its Gyro Ball didn't really hurt me either, so I used Bug Bite again, and a crit took it into the red. I thought it would be a good time to heal now, ready for the rest of the battle, and it used Curse, which was fine with me, so I lost no damage that turn. I decided to Dynamax now to set up the Electric Terrain for the Gigantamax Copperaja, which of course finished off Ferrothorn, and Max Lightning on Gigantamax Copperaja on the next turn did massive damage. I tanked a G-Max Steel Surge and then finished it off with a Max Lightning. I'm going to really quickly summarise the next bit of the story for you. Essentially, you then go to the top of the gym, battle Eternatus, catch Eternatus. So after I catch Eternatus and save the Galar region, 3 days later, it was time for the final battle. The final showdown. Leon's full party of Pokemon versus Solo. I'm going to say now that I 100% need battle items for this battle because there's no way a Caterpie can take down 6 Pokemon in the level 60s. He first sends out Aegislash. To cut a very long story short, I used this opportunity to raise my defense by 6 stages, my attack by 4 stages, and my speed by 4 stages. I first go for Electro Web, which crits and gets Aegislash into the red. I tank a Sacred Sword, and on the next turn he uses a full restore. So while Aegislash is still in its attack stance, I Oko it with an Electro Web. Dragapult is next, and all my moves are weak or just won't affect it. I go for Bug Bite, which does more than half. I then tank a Flamethrower and finish it on the next turn with Bug Bite. Haxorus is next, and I go for a Stab full power Bug Bite, which Okos it. He then sends out Mr. Rhyme. I use a super effective Stab full power Bug Bite and Oko this as well. He then sends out Inteleon, so I Dynamax to set up the electric terrain ready for Gigantamax Charizard. And my Max Lightning Okos Inteleon. I have now Okoed 3 of his Pokemon in a row with a Caterpie. Finally, Charizard is here. And I'm just going to let this clip speak for itself. That's right, you just watched a Caterpie Oko a Gigantamax Charizard. I have no words to describe what just happened there. And not only has a Caterpie just Okoed a Gigantamax Charizard, the prized Pokemon for the champion of the region, I have just won the entire tournament, beaten all of the gym leaders, and done a complete run through with one Caterpie. How is that even possible? This was my first real playthrough challenge and I jumped straight into the deep end with it. But I am so glad that I did. I don't care if these games are too hand-holdy, trying to beat every single trainer in Galar, including weaknesses, with just one Caterpie is fucking difficult. I'm going to confidently say in my 20 plus years of being a Pokemon game player, this is the greatest achievement I have done on any Pokemon game. And I think with that massive claim, I'm just going to say one thing, and that is thank you for watching this challenge. It's the first one I've ever done, so if I've done it correctly or if I need to change anything in any way or how I present myself, whatever, let me know in the comments below. Or equally, let me know if you've enjoyed this video. It was so fun to do. It was amazing. I'm going to try and think of another challenge, but if you've thought of one, put it in the comments below. Again, thank you for watching. I'm going to cherish this Caterpie for the rest of my life. Solo is the greatest. And yeah, well, let's end it there. See you later.